What's up, everybody? It's Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. Today, we're going to talk about statute of limitations for debt. There still is a lot of misconceptions about the statute of limitations for debt and for debt collections. And also, it could be AKA time-barred debt. According to the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, it's called time-barred debt, debt that has a statute, a period of time that it can be legally collected. There could be they could say that you have a moral obligation and they can still collect the debt. Like, you can choose to pay it and that would not be breaking the law. What would be breaking the law is if they took you to court and they sued you over a debt that was past the legal statute of limitation / time barred period of time to be able to be collected. So here's where the misconceptions come in, is that first there is a breakdown of a federal statute of limitations on debt, and that is for cell phone bills, cable bills, anything that is a utility, even your utility bill, your water bill, any of that stuff has a 2-year statute of limitations. That means that since the last activity, this is the thing about it, is that those don't technically charge off like a credit card or an auto loan or something like that. It's the last activity. So if you have a water bill and you moved and you didn't renew and it just has that bill from 2 years ago to this date, the statute of limitations is over. And I'm going to tell you in a minute what you would need to do if a collector came at you for that debt. And they will come at you for that debt, even if it's the original creditor. But there is a catch-22. If you're dealing with your utility company, they will probably require you to pay that. That's why I said, even if it's past the legal statute of limitations, they can't take you to court to collect the money. But they can surely say, hey, you can't do business with us. And if you live in a state where water companies and electric companies are not deregulated like it is in other states, you're going to really only have one choice to choose from. So you're going to end up having to pay that bill. So you need to settle that bill. The next one is state statute of limitations. It varies from state to state. And these would be for your credit card, your some private student loans, your automobile loans, payday loans, personal loans, mortgages, and all of that type of stuff will be under your state statute. So if it goes past the date that it states on your specific state's statute of limitations, they cannot take you to court to collect on it, but they can call you and say, we would like to have you paid it. What they'll say is they're like, this is a time-barred debt, and they have to say that in that call, and they'll say that, would you, they don't say, would you like to pay it? They'll say, when are you going to pay it? Or we're trying to collect on this time-barred debt. They have to identify that's a time-barred debt. So what you need to do is look at your state statute of limitations, and if the debt is charged off, this would be for regular debt that you got a loan on or a credit card, those types. From the charge-off date is when the clock starts to tick, and if it passes that date, they cannot take you to court to collect it, but they could try to say, make you want to pay it by saying, hey, you should pay your debts. But they have no legal recourse to make you pay that debt. And it varies from state to state on credit card open-end type of accounts and installment loan types of accounts. And also I'm seeing a lot of promissory notes. We used to only see the written contract and the open-end type accounts, which are credit cards. But now we're starting to see a lot of all three, the promissory note. And there's a different statute in some states from written contract to promissory note, even though they could, they're similar, but I'm seeing a lot of contracts that are stating that they're a promissory note rather than an installment type contract. So you would need to know that statute of limitation. I'm going to tell you where you can look to see that in a second. The next one is credit reporting. This gets a lot of people confused because they'll say, well, it's past the legal statute of limitations for them to be able to collect, but it's still on my credit report. The credit report statute of limitations is 7 years if you do nothing about it. It's 7 years. They can put positive or negative information on your credit reports for 7 years if you do nothing about it. So to get something removed off of your credit reports that is past the statute of limitations, you have to go through a process, and that process is going to be from getting documentation first from the creditor or debt collector or whoever. You got to get them to acknowledge that there is no debt anymore. And then you would need to be able to utilize that information to get that information removed off of your credit reports, because technically it's showing totally inaccurate because it's stating that you owe that debt and you don't owe that debt anymore. There is no balance. Now, if they want to say zero balance, they could do that, but that reporting is inaccurate. So that's how you would do it. But you have to do that from going to the furnisher back over to the bureau. And I got other videos on what you can do with that. So now, this is what you also need to understand about debt that is past the legal statute of limitations to collect. Don't do this. If you do this, you're going to mess it up. You're going to make it harder on yourself. You're going to have this back and forth with the debt collection company or back and forth with the original creditor when it can all be done and over with if you do what I'm about to tell you to do right now. If you have a debt that is past the legal statute of limitations to collect, you only need to send them a notification stating that fact. Nothing about a debt validation. Nothing about the amount that's owed. Zero. I don't know. People just don't know what they don't know, but this is something that we've done for years. If the debt is past the legal statute of limitations to collect or time barred period to collect, there is no debt validation that is required. Please hear me out on this. I get people that send stuff to our office for review. The debt was past the legal statute of limitations, and they got into that back and forth that was unnecessary with the collection agency or the original creditor, when the original creditor knows and the debt collector knows that you have no legal obligation to pay that debt. Now, don't get me wrong on this. If you feel that you need to pay that debt, you work out something and pay that debt. We're talking about if the debt is past the legal statute of limitations. Just like if any creditor or collector had a legal right to do something to you, they're going to take their legal options to the max. And if you have a legal option to the max to not have to pay a debt because they didn't do their due diligence on collecting that debt, and this is where we live in the United States. This is our law, and it is there for you to use at your advantage, just like any other company would use at their advantage. If a debt is past the legal statute of limitations to collect, there is no need for you to do a debt validation. You will just start a back and forth process that is totally unnecessary. So now, if you have debt collectors coming after you, I'm going to give you a letter. It is 100% free, but I do ask for a donation with it, because if it gets you out of paying hundreds, thousands, maybe even higher than that on a debt, I think the highest one was about $36,000 from statute of limitations, and there could be more that were higher. Something comes to my memory about one that was with a second mortgage. If it could get you out of having to pay that legally, feel free to give a donation. It'll give you that opportunity. But if you don't feel that I'm worthy of it, don't worry about it. I'm still going to give it to you, because number one goal here is to help you. And if it helps you, then you help somebody else after I finish helping you. And then there's 2 other letters that I'm going to give you that. So you're going to get the debt validation. You're going to get the statute of limitations letter, which talks nothing about doing a debt validation, because I don't want you to do this wrong. And then if your debt is past the legal statute of limitations to collect, I'm going to give you 2 letters: cease and desist collection activities letter and debt validation letter. Those letters will stop most debt collections that are purchased by third-party debt collectors, because it's going to ask questions that they don't want you to even know that you have a right to ask, because that's going to back them up. And they're going to say, this is not someone we might want to go after. Not to say that they might still go at it, because they're in the business of taking risks. That's what the whole debt portfolio game is about. But a lot of people have gotten their debt stopped. And some of the times they will even send a note saying that they're going to cease collection activities and apologize for coming after you for that debt. And also, don't be surprised you don't get an apology letter from the debt collection company if they were coming after you for a debt that's past the legal statute of limitations to collect. So the link is below this video. And if you need help with your credit, please go to my website, thecreditrepairshop.com, watch video, What Makes Us Different, because that's the way that we repair credit. And I'm telling you, credit has to be done different than it was in the past. People are coming up with these new ways of doing it, talking about AI, this and that, and that's what they do. We do it our way, and my company we've been in business since 2006. You can't be around a long time if you do things the wrong way. It just doesn't work. Those 2 things don't exist together. So I know what we're doing, the way we're doing it, it gets results. I can't promise how fast. No one can promise you that. But I promise you hard work, and that we will figure out your specific needs for your specific individual credit repair situation. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website your3scores.com to grab your TransUnion, Equifax, Experian credit reports and all 3 scores, because you can't move forward. You can't get anywhere if you don't have all of the information. If you don't have all the information, you can't move forward. Think about it this way. If you're trying to get somewhere, if you're trying to drive to somewhere, say you're trying to drive to see me to get your credit repaired, would you want the map that I give you and say, okay, here is half of the way to get to my office? You're coming, the goal is to talk to Steve about repairing your credit, and I say, here's the map to get to me, and it's only halfway. Well, when you get stuff that is free, you get stuff that has no, anything where people just hand it to you, you might want to be skeptical. You want to be skeptical, because that stuff might be only halfway. It might only be, it don't get you halfway on the trip. So watch out. We don't play it that way, though. Thank you for your time. Subscribe to the channel. Post your questions and comments. Share this video. This is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the